Hey, good evening. January 22nd, 2024, opening a meeting with the Conservation Commission. Okay, first three things, get a motion to move those to the end, so we can get into the updates.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Mark Mangumai.
Eric Side. Rick Greco, aye.
Jim Thornton, aye.
Chuck is back, okay. Go right into the updates.
Can everybody hear out there?
No.
No? Okay.
You moved the mics right after?
Yeah, I moved it. All right, we're gonna get into the 45 Oak Street. Somebody had to bring us up to speed. I'd like to, before we get started, I just want to bring up anything that's new, any updates you got for the board. I don't want to go into a long, I know.
Just quick hits.
Yeah, you need to know what's going on with Prague, what you guys are doing, and you want to introduce.
Excellent.
Jeff, can you please bring up the PowerPoint?
Yep, we have Jeffrey Murphy, who has a quick presentation, just general quick hit updates.
Chair, would you like for us to say our names again?
Yes, just for the recording, so we can identify who you are before you speak.
Yep.
Greg Morehouse, project manager of Mill Creek Renewables. Greg Morehouse, project manager, Mill Creek Renewables.
Jason Smith, Blue Wave.
Pat Mahan, Jay Bates and Son.
Devin Herrick, wetland scientist with Weston and Sampson.
Jeff Murphy, civil engineer with Beals and Thomas here virtually.
Could we give Jeff the ability to share?
So, Chair, today we're just going to show exactly what you said since the last meeting, what's been accomplished, a few photos, and then we have a specialist that we brought with us in soils that we'd have a brief presentation to discuss some of the
As long as we keep it brief.
very, yes.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. I think, we can just skip ahead to the current status updates, if that's good with you guys. So again, we'll share this with you, but this is just a timeline of the events. We can blow through that.
Feel free to look at that.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. All right, so quick construction status. Basin 5 is constructed to grade. We have the sediment basin upgrading of Basin 5. We've been working on the diversion swales. That's both behind Basin 2 and leading up to Basin 5. And we have a complete cover of riprap in all those swales, including an access to drain that one swale into Basin 5, as we discussed 2 weeks ago. We've also leveled at the ground coming from the Mazinski's property line, so that's going to go into that swale as well. We're ready for the vacuum truck pretty much as soon as we get the weather to get back in there and have everything saw out. Again, we're cleaning and maintaining the erosion controls on a daily basis. We are pumping out the basins as needed to increase capacity. And on that note, we have added a new temporary settlement basin on the top of the hill there. So that's going to be another place we can pump water. That's not going to affect any landowners. We completed the install of the erosion control blankets on that swale. We have loamed and put erosion control blankets down on all of that swale, again, along the Mazinski property. Again, the riprap, and we have the permanent basin on the south, permanent swell on the south side of Basin 2 completed at this point. Our next steps are we're going to continue the building of the temp basin on the top of the hill.
If you don't mind, Greg, can we show exactly where on the map it represents the work that we've done?
Yeah, Jeffrey, if you could go to, I think it's the second or third to last page. So these are just kind of a progress photos on a weekly basis. And then this is kind of what we've done since our last meeting, what was done prior to then, and what we are going to kind of plan to do. So yellow is previously completed. Red is we're roughly a subgrade, everything's functional. Blue is what we've done since the last meeting, and the green areas are what we're working on currently.
The green, the top.
Yep.
Yep, so that's where we're putting our temporary sediment basin.
Okay.
As of today, Chair, that's been constructed at the top.
Okay. When you say at the top, you mean that green one that's next to the
Yep.
detention basin?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
One? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. As you know, it's a broad knob. It feels like the top, but it might not be.
Yeah.
So if that new basin fills, which way will that drain?
Like east, toward the top of the page. Towards the top of the page there, east.
Okay, thank you.
So it's,
Yeah.
It's going to run
And that's,
towards the top of the page, which
Yeah.
is towards the Kroll property.
yeah. and-
Right. It's so close to the detention basin, I didn't know if it was going to drain into the detention basin one or not.
But, that's the kind of the undisturbed area of the site, so it'll kind of go through that before we get anywhere else.
And Greg, can we go over the next steps?
Yeah, and then, so next steps, we received the approved restoration plan from the town, I believe it was on the 15th. We received the enforcement order on the 17th, so we are working on getting those implemented. Our paperwork is in pretty good shape. I believe all we're waiting for is the access agreement to be signed. And then, as weather permits, we will start doing the testing and the cleanup on the Mizinski Living Trust and the Mizinski property.
And Chair, to keep it brief, man, we now have our expert, Steve, present.
Yeah.
Brandon, do you mind making the request to have Steve
Steve LaRose.
Okay,
La Rosa?
So Blue Wave has, they approached me because, and before we get into, it's Mr. La Rosa?
Let's stop there a minute.
Yeah.
If I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
I asked you guys for a topo. How are you making out with that?
Oh, so we have that flown, and Jeffrey is working on cleaning it up and making it, so it's, right now it's just a bunch of lines. We're working on making that visible and readable so we can share with you. Jeffrey, I don't know what your timeline's thinking about, but I think in the next couple of days here, we should be able to share that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, we did a full LiDAR fly of the whole site, so we'll be able to show you plan contours compared to actual contours.
Right,
Okay.
and I like, the way I like to see the as-built, if I may. I like to see the pre-existing topo either in black or gray, and the existing, the topo as it is today, either in red or like a dark orange, and showing elevations on both ends.
Excellent.
Okay.
Jeffrey, taking some notes there.
So, one thing I do want to say about and I can
Yeah.
even show you what I have so far. I mean, it's kind of an ortho imagery with the drone topo overlay. One of the things that should be noted with the drone topo is that with the ponded water in the basins, we don't have a bottom of basin contour defined on here. It's only showing anything that's above the water level at the time it was flown. And certainly the drone topo also picks up, everything, including objects on the ground, whether it's, trees, rocks, soil stockpiles, the stump grinding berm. So there may be some features that, are not reflective of the terrain surface beneath them. So again, I think just clarifying that this is kind of just an in-progress, interim as-built of the current conditions.
All right, and I want to clarify, when I said pre-existing topo, what I meant to say was the design topography
Yeah.
versus what is actually built. Yeah.
Chair, did you want to see that? Did you want to see a sample?
Yeah, you can show a sample what he's got. Get him to share it.
Yeah. Yeah, just give me a second. So, can everybody see my screen?
Yep, I've got you.
Got it.
So, what I did was I took the drone imagery, which is the colored imagery, and then the contours in green are the drone contours. So in this version, it's basically the current conditions contours in green, and then I kind of spliced it together with what the original existing conditions topo that we had from our design plan. And I have the design contours turned off in this version, so you can kind of see the contours a bit easier. I put some labels on the green, interim contours. And like I was noting, like you can see here, the basin has a lot of water in it, and it only picks up the water surface on elevation. So that's one thing. So the other version of this, I did put the design on, and it's in yellow. So the design contours here are in yellow, and then the interim as-built ones are in green.
Yeah.
So again, you can kind of see that the general size shape of the basin is, progressing per the design. I think that's, it's, and you can see at the top of the hill as well, like the contours are generally mimicking the proposed contours up here as well, but similar with Basin 2, I think we talked about this, the cutoff swale was not yet completed at the time that the flight was done, so this doesn't, fully match up with the design yet, but this is kind of gives you a sense of what it looks like currently. And again, I think it's more just an informational tool and just shows how things are progressing.
Okay.
Brandon?
So, Mr. LaRosa is here to talk about chemical testing, specifically PFAS. If you remember at the last meeting, the commission,
One moment thing. I wanted to ask you, on these sediment ponds you got, what are we doing to, because you got a lot of silt going in there?
Yep.
And now they're just turning into a place to collect water. What are we doing to correct any of that, if anything?
So our plan right now is to use to use the pond on the top of the hill and kind of slowly pump these down and slowly kind of clean the water out of them. And then when we can get these down, then we can kind of install the last layers, which will help a lot with the silt that's in there now. But I think it's, installing the infiltration trench and drain and the outlet control structures. And we've also, to help any water going into these, is why we've started to install the riprap swales in place of grass swales. Or, so we're trying to get the water cleaner going in there. But our key now is to kind of pump the ponds into the temporary sediment stilling basins, slowly release the water so that we can keep it clean.
Because I know there's a lot of silt that's running up there. I mean, I was up there 2 weeks ago, and
Yep.
it's just unbelievable what's running around. And that's my concern, that at the bottom, Basin 5, which I talked to your employee, Nick,
Yep.
there was one area breached there, and it looks like that's where you were cleaning already, and there was a bunch of silt that's running right down along the hoses, so you guys are going to have to go back and clean that up.
Yep. And I think, we're still, at the times, we're in a huge rainstorm again last week, and we're trying to get through those. And I think we're able to get ahead of them a little bit now and try to work on one basin at a time, get them pumped down, work on a basin, and, we're still continuing to go. But I think we've also we're trying to just cover more of the subsoil, which is a problem with the silt. So we've installed riprap, and then we're finishing the loam swales, erosion control blanket all around them. And that's kind of our main method, is just, work our way down to the basin as far as getting these as stabilized as we can for this time of year.
Yeah, because the other thing I noticed is your silt fences, somebody's got to do some maintenance on them, because they were so full of silt that these
Yep.
things are going to let go, and then you're going to have a bigger problem. So, I don't know how often you guys are checking those silt fences, but it looks like somebody hasn't been out there in a while.
standard is once they get to be half the height of the silt fence, they need to be cleaned out.
So,
And I presume that you're still taking into consideration all the SWIP comments from Haley Ward,
Yep.
okay? one of the things, I updated the Board of Selectmen on Thursday night. And one of the things the Board of Selectmen recommended was that I go to the site at least once a week and have a walkabout with the site supervisor to give me progress reports on what's being done, like, at least once a week. Like, so,
And we would appreciate the visit.
okay, good.
And we'd appreciate the visit, and same day, same time, we can be prepared and accommodate. And we've discussed this, we would be prepared to show you from the previous week what work was complete, show you exactly what had been planned, what was still in progress, and walk you around the site.
Okay.
We'd be happy to.
And there was another section up where you're draining, the hoses running up by, was it Kara's place?
Charla.
Charla. There was a lot of sediment up there on that piece of canvas you had out or whatever it was, okay? And I'm a little concerned with that, how that got there. If you had the pipes running way up in the field, which I followed them all the way up,
Yep.
I don't know how that sediment's getting there, so.
We had previously been pumping in that area in a silt bag. So that's the sediment that was in that bag. And, since then, we've moved it uphill to kind of give it more of a filter. So we no longer are pumping in that area that you're talking about, like kind of right at the top of the silt fence there by her property.
Yeah.
Yeah, we no longer pump in that area there.
Right.
Even so, the ground was so saturated after the last two storms, that according to the Crolls, the dirty sediment was still making it down to their property, just in a different location. Which is why I recommended at the Sudden Concom meeting last week that they create a hole up at the top of the hill to dump the sediment, dump the dirty water into, which they showed on the plan.
Yep.
Okay.
We took that into consideration.
Big sump hole.
It might be, I don't know if this is a good time, but we did get the final results back from the preliminary, or I should say the first pass of the soil samples that we took. Those are in the,
Yeah, I am in receipt of that.
okay, good.
Okay, so anything else you guys want to present?
Yeah, we'd like to have Brandon.
Before Mr. LaRosa talks, this has to do with the new condition that the commission imposed last meeting regarding the adding of the requirement that PFAS be tested for any sediment that's going into places where it doesn't belong, and any new material that's brought onto the site. So one of the things I've had to do since last meeting is write that condition, which will then eventually be presented to the applicant, and then they will have to record it with the Registry of Deeds. But I wanted to present that, can I have screen sharing? I want to present that to the Conservation Commission, and just have you look at it real quick and tell me, are you okay with this, or did I get it completely wrong? So, here it is. Okay. And it's up. So here's what I wrote. This special condition is added per the provisions of the Special Conditions 6 of the Order of Conditions issued to the applicant on January 10, 2020, which reads, "The commission reserves the right to impose additional conditions on any or all portions of this project that could impact an area of statutory interest under the Act. Due to noncompliance with the order of conditions as outlined in an enforcement order issued to the applicant dated January 16, 2024, the commission at their January 2024 public meeting," I must have, no,
And it states wrong.
that's January, yeah, I probably got a little bit of number dyslexic going in there.
It's all right.
Did require that the condition, a condition be added. This condition shall be considered Special Condition 63 found on page 21 of the order of conditions. And then the motion in the second was. So I didn't actually say what the condition was. The condition to be test for PFAS. So, and that's what Mr. DeRosa is here to talk about.
I think you get on the backside.
I do?
Yeah, condition as follows.
Oh, here it is. Okay, I don't know why I didn't all go on the same. You're right, here we go. The condition is as follows. Applicant shall test soils, A, that have been transported beyond the approved limit of work/limit of disturbance, and B, been imported to the site for per- and polyfluorinated substances, also known as PFAS. So I will give it back to the chair, and this Mr. DeRosa would like to speak on that. So, go ahead, Mr. DeRosa.
Thank you.
Great, I've just got a couple of quick slides, if I can share my screen.
Can we give Mr. LaRosa screen sharing? Oh, I'm still sharing right now. You got it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can we just have him identify himself and who he works for, please?
Yes.
You bet. I'm Steve LaRosa. I am a senior technical leader here at Weston and Sampson, and the applicants with 45 Oak Street have asked me to talk about the amendment or the provision that you just discussed with regard to the need to sample for PFAS at the site. And what I just wanted to do is go over real quickly what I understand about PFAS. I've been working with it for a number of years, and what the potential concerns are with regard to collecting samples for that kind of analysis and what the results might mean. And I promise to keep this as short as possible. I've just got a couple of slides here. So I'm not sure how familiar with PFAS you folks are, but I was just going to go over a little bit of what they are, what their use history was, what the property use history is, and then discuss the kind of background concentrations of PFAS that are being found throughout New England, and then what the Mass DEP considerations might be based on what we would find for results. So sources of PFAS, PFAS are basically ubiquitous in our environment. You can find them nearly everywhere. They've been used for many decades. And there's a number of different ways that they can enter into the environment, particularly in soils at a site. Direct release from things like firefighting foams, chrome plating industries, spills of materials containing this. And there's a lot in landfills in the leachates, because the leachate is filtering through all these consumer products that have had PFAS in them. And then also wastewater treatment effluent and land application of biosolids can result in PFAS being at a property. One thing to remember, as I said, they're ubiquitous, so these compounds have been used as waterproofers and oil-resistant kinds of uses in food contact surfaces, so cookware, fast food wrappers, popcorn bags, those kinds of things. Also in polishes, waxes, anything that's really stain repellent and oil repellent that you would use as a textile. So think carpeting, rain jackets, tents, those kinds of things. And then also in electronics and hydraulic oils, they really have been used pretty much everywhere. And then there's some non-traditional ways that you can find PFAS getting onto a property other than those initial items that I said, or in the wastes that you would find at a landfill or an old town dump. One is fill importation from impacted areas, if you're bringing in materials from an area that was impacted. The others are ones that we're finding more and more frequently impacting groundwaters and soils, and that's septic systems. So washing your clothes can release PFAS. Some of the soaps actually have PFAS in them. All of us at this meeting today have PFAS in our bloodstream. They have been used so much in the world that we've intaken PFAS into ourselves. So we actually excrete it into septic systems, as I said, some of the cleaning products. Some of the studies that have been ongoing most recently are showing that there's actually elevated PFAS concentrations in rainwater. There's one that was done actually right in Massachusetts that is showing detectable amounts of PFAS in rainwater that's falling on the soils across the entire state. Frankly, it mimics what has been seen in New Hampshire, West Virginia, Minnesota's also done a study. So these PFAS are being released through not only the industrial plants and those things, but also just coming down in the rainwater that's landing on us. And then other places that we've been seeing is actually with car and boat and RV washes and detailing. There's still a lot of PFAS associated with those types of uses. So really what it leads us to deal with is that these PFAS are everywhere. They're in the soils and in the rain, and they're out there regardless of whether there was some sort of disposal that happened or some release. So what we try and do is when we go to see if we need to look for these compounds at a site is we will take a look at the site's history and use to say, okay, have they done something out here that would lead us to believe that there's PFAS at a higher concentration than we would normally expect to see. So we did some digging into the history of this site. It's really been used for agricultural use, for alfalfa and clover and those things. On the right-hand side of the screen is a photo from back in 1938, and it looks pretty similar to what the use is right now. We looked at the environmental databases, which list all of the known hazardous waste sites, landfills, former landfills, those kinds of things. We didn't see any releases or environmental sites nearby. And then in talking with the property owner, they've indicated that they have not spread biosolids from wastewater treatment plants. Paper plants often will have their sludges used to augment soils. They often have PFAS. That use hasn't been out here. Pesticides and herbicides, those sometimes can have PFAS associated with them. There hasn't been any known application of those out here. So in our normal look at, if we were looking at, say, a site that we were concerned that there may be contamination at, we don't see any historical uses here that suggest there would be an elevated PFAS presence. And that really is important because it does get back to this whole idea of background and what could possibly be there just from atmospheric deposition, from just the use of these compounds across the earth, frankly. So Vermont and Maine did some background studies of soils in their states where they went to areas that had not had biosolids spread, were not near plants or car washes or things that would have generated PFAS. And they sampled the shallow soils. And those results are in the right two columns of this table. And there's a lot of numbers in there. They're at very, very low concentrations. These are actually in the part per billion concentration. And what you can see is that there's a number of compounds that were identified there in blue. In Massachusetts, they've set a level for shallow soils for 6 individual PFAS that if you're above that concentration, you have a risk of impacting groundwater where it's being used as drinking water. And you would have essentially, if you were above these numbers, a reportable condition. So envision that as you find these concentrations in soil, you need to let the DEP know that you found that and follow through with additional sampling to determine the source and extent of contamination. Well, if you look at these numbers, what you'll see is these Massachusetts numbers in the left-hand column are actually lower than what they're finding as a background concentration in Vermont and Maine in areas where there is no known source for these PFAS. So that makes things very complicated when we go out to sample a site that doesn't have previous uses. And what we've run into in some locations in Massachusetts is we have concentrate when they've gone out and sampled for PFAS at sites that don't have a history of PFAS use near it. They find concentrations above the reporting limit. And that means that those sites are now categorized as waste sites and need follow-up. Part of that follow-up has been trying to sample soils around that site, so areas within that community, to see if what is being found at the subject site is the same as everywhere else, basically. Is it background? And we found some places where our concentrations look similar throughout the area. The toughest thing is any of these background sites or unimpacted sites that we go to, if their concentration are above the Massachusetts standard, then they now have to go through this process. So if you go out and sample a site that doesn't seem to have any real source associated with it, you really run into a potential of really looking throughout an entire community and bringing in other properties that may have these concentrations that aren't really reflective of a problem, but everyone has to go through this whole process with the state. So that's our real concern here. You know, if we find compounds above the reportable concentration at the site, they may well still be background. We very much believe that they would be background, but if we find them above this level, then we need to report to the state and follow through. And therefore, we'd be going out in other areas in the community here and doing additional sampling. And maybe those sites end up being brought into the same issue with the state. And it really gets complicated as you start to look around at farther distances. And as we, move closer to things like the lake or to areas where there are some water supplies, things get much, much more complicated with regard to other potential sources, like the septic systems and road runoff. And it becomes a very, very complex problem to tease out and to solve. And what we don't want to do is have everybody get into that situation, looking at the conditions of a site that really doesn't have much of a rationale to believe there's elevated concentrations there. So that's the end of my spiel and the concerns that we have about doing the sampling out there and what we might find. And I was just asked to kind of bring that forward. I'd be happy to answer any questions if folks have.
Well, from what I get out of that, you're saying that we shouldn't check it at all, we should just leave it to be?
He's intimidating us.
Yeah, well, the problem I have is, we got Wallen Lake up the street here, and it's got high concentrations of PFAS in it. We don't want Manchog ended up in the same way. So the property owners are asking that it be checked. I think we should check it. Brennan, you have anything?
As far as I know, the property owners still want us to check it.
A minute. Yeah. Shirley, can you come up and...
Shirley Mazinski, 60 Oak Street. Maybe you should have thought of that before you hauled all kinds of stuff in. That's our question, our issue. This was farmland, forestry. We had no problems. And we saw truckload after truckload of stuff being brought in. Now, what is it? What do we have there that's leached down into our woodland? So this is why we'd like the PFAS. And as far as where is it, it could be everywhere, you're right. Because just recently, the University of Rhode Island, one of the professors, it's up there in the Arctic and flowing into the Atlantic. I'm aware of stuff like this. And this is why we asked to have PFAS tested.
I just wanted to respond about, hauling materials on site. The only thing that's been hauled on site is material directly from a, approved DOT pit. We have not hauled any recycled or any kind of everything's gravel or clay that we've built this plug out of, but everything's been hauled from Hilka in Charlton right down the road. It's straight out of a quarry, right out of the bank put in a truck and brought to site has been the only thing hauled on.
Is there any testing of that material that came in?
It's virgin. I can ask them if they have source testing for it, but it's virgin material directly out of a quarry, right out of a quarry. Just, there's no other materials that have been brought on site that are from anywhere else other than that.
Well, just based on what your specialist told me, it depends on what the concentration is out in Charlton versus what it is here.
And I'm not an expert on PFAS,
Right.
so I don't know anything about that, other than it's just rock. We brought in gravel and rocks to build the roads and like a clay material to put in the plug that are from this quarry that's just straight out of the, no recycled or any other materials up, other than that.
I think that's mainly the concern of the residents up there, and correct me if I'm wrong. They're concerned what's being brought in there,
And we did have the other materials testing that we did on it. The metals were lower than, people that can speak to it better than I. We have an LSP on the call, and but the materials that were, any materials that were watched on site that we tested were much lower than background levels for metals or anything else, or what was tested. Brandon has the results he's shared. Yeah, we've shared those results with everyone.
I still have some concerns. I have a family history of something like this happening. Should never have happened. Ruined a beautiful piece of land. And I'm not saying it's PFAS, but stuff was brought in there that never, never, never should have been brought in. And it's not up here. It's in a neighboring town.
Yeah, and I understand that, and I appreciate that, but, we're respectful of that. This is going to be an organic farm, so, we're not bringing in, it's going to be a farmland, and we're building roads and ponds to create that for the solar field, is what we're building right now.
And really, I would think that the organic farmers would want to know if PFAS is there. What are you going to be feeding people? I really think they'd like to know. Thank you.
I work in a business where we're importing materials to sites a lot, and whenever we do, we request test reports for those materials because of this very issue. Not necessarily PFAS, but obviously gradients and, any kind of heavy metals within the soil, stuff like that. So I would think that if you're getting this from a DOT certified pit, that they would have test reports that you could provide to us, to the landowners or the adjacent landowners, to kind of quell this fear.
Yeah, and I can check on exactly how that is worded, but, I know when we do this on other sites and DOT sites, and it's, certified virgin, however they word it, we can look into that and get that to the board for sure.
Right, and I might say that there is a condition in the order of conditions that reads that all material brought in shall be clean fill. And there's a lot of trust that goes into that condition, but the commission can also request verification. So there's trust, but there's also verify at your discretion, which is where we are now. Right.
Yeah, and the other part that I was going to just mention in regards to testing is that it's really hard to test without having a base as to what was there prior. So if we are going to require testing, I would suggest that we also test some of the undisturbed ground on the site to see what the base levels are in that area, and even some of the undisturbed ground on the adjacent landowner's property to see what was there before, because without knowing what was there, it's really,
A moot point.
you don't know if you've changed it or not, correct, so I would suggest that.
Mr. Vice Chair, that is a part of our work plan. If we test, it will be control points both on our site where undisturbed soil is, as well as on the adjacent properties.
Great.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Lisa Mozinski, 60 Oak Street, also for the Mozinski Living Trust. And I just wanted to ask if you've received copies of the bills of lading that were spoken of at the last meeting.
Have we received any? I haven't.
No, I have not.
So I'd like that you receive them since January 2023, when the project first started hauling in material.
Yeah, I can get that this week.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
wasn't at the meeting, last meeting, I'm sorry for that.
okay.
Thank you.
Mazinski still want the testing, so I think it's as simple as that.
Well, I think we have to, we voted it in as a.
You already voted in, I suppose there could be
it's-
discussion if you disagree with the wording, and I could word it the way you want to right now. Otherwise, there's no vote required, just
Right.
it'll be issued.
Could I ask one quick question?
Sure.
Just because I...
Can you
I am
identify yourself first?
Yep. Just because I get down...
Steve, you just have to state your name again, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Stephen LaRosa with Weston and Sampson. Knowing that we're likely going to see positive readings for PFAS in all of the samples that we collect, do you have an idea as to what the range of acceptable deviation of concentration would be, say, between the native soils and the disturbed / imported soils? you know, what that difference would need to be some sort of issue or need follow-up?
Well, I think that's what we're asking for now. I want to know what was there originally and what's being introduced to the property, either through the runoff or from what's being brought in, and let's find out what the numbers are. There may be nothing there, but then again, it could be a lot there. So without the testing, we're just guessing, and I'm not an expert on PFAS to tell you that it's going to be within a certain range. So that's what we rely on people like you to do.
Sure, I'm just trying to get a sense of, you know, what I'm hoping is that all these concentrations will be below the reporting limit for all the materials. But we're certainly going to see some variations through all these, and just getting a sense of, you know, how much is, as you say, too much, or would you think would be unacceptable. And as always, being a consultant, I'll always be happy to provide an opinion with that data, but I'm just trying to get a sense of where the guardrails are. That's all.
Well, if you had the test came back and there was no variation in it, I'd be a little skeptical of the results if everything came back the same. So you're going to have the highs and lows, but let's get it tested and let's see what's there.
All right,
Yeah, but I think he asked a good question in that, say the levels are elevated. What's our next step? What are we going to ask them to do?
If it's above a certain level, right?
That's what Mr. LaRosa is saying.
So then we have to wait and,
We need those numbers.
yeah.
There's a Darren online with his hand up.
Yep, good evening. I'm Darren Kirch. I work closely with Steve and Devin on our site LSPs. I'm also from Weston and Sampson, and I work with our LSPs. I guess just to build up what Steve was mentioning as well, I think the main risk that we're highlighting here is the MCP will require additional assessment and potentially remediation on other properties that are sampled, potentially independent of what is found at the 45 Oak Street. So I certainly understand that the desire for data is really useful to have, to really understand the concentrations and the nature of the problem. I think what we wanted to highlight is that, as Steve mentioned, this is such a ubiquitous contaminant in the environment, in all shallow soils across New England and the world, globally, that there's a fairly high risk that a reportable condition may be present on these properties beyond 45 Oak Street, and in these control samples as well, not impacted by the release of the soil. And then those property owners would have to independently hire an LSP, coordinate with the state to be in compliance for assessment and remediation. And the town also has the same obligation if town property was sampled. So we just wanted to, that's I think what we're trying to drive home based on the site history. The sampling doesn't follow the traditional MSDP, MCP approach of being a contaminant that would be tested for. Certainly it is a contaminant of concern globally, but wanted to just flag that again. That I just wanted to, I think that's what we're trying to make clear is the risk for all parties to enter the MCP process, which is the Massachusetts Contingency Plan and DEP regulations associated with soil.
Thank you. Phyllis Charpentier, Mantuck Pond Foundation. I'm at 20 Irma Jones Road in Sutton. I just wanted to point out that agriculture can also be a source of these chemicals. Organic fertilizers like Milorganite. There's a number of different organic chemicals, fertilizers sold at Home Depot, Lowe's, common garden centers. that use wastewater sludge for the fertilizers, and where we don't really have, the owner of the property, or a solid history, we don't know what was put on those fields. I know the site is greatly, changed, but if Milorganite was, say, spread on those fields, it could definitely be a source. And where we already have a pond in town, that's been identified, that water that's washing off down towards Manchug Pond needs to be looked at too. I mean, if the initial soil samples show something, then I think then we need to go further down. And maybe there's a low level, but maybe there isn't. So if we test, ignorance is bliss, but we want to be safe. We want the agricultural use in the future to be good. We want all the visitors to Manchug Pond and the Crowell's Farm, to be safe. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Lori Hauk, 41 Oak Street. I just want to say I'm really disappointed in Weston and Sampson and Blue Wave coming here and giving us all the reasons that we should not be testing for this when it's known to have negative impacts. I think it's actually quite insulting, to be honest, to have a company whose vision and mission relates to environmental health, meaning Weston and Sampson. I'm just extremely discouraged by this. We would not be here if there hadn't been irresponsible actions. We would not be here if the stormwater had been managed appropriately. I do not think that we are going to have proper stormwater management at any point in the near future. And, I'm okay with moving forward with any kind of testing that needs to go on. We do not know what has gone on that site. And I feel like they just shaved off the top of what was just a bubble of water. And I will also note that there has been stuff brought in this week. There has been work going on near the 41 Oak Street Basin 2. There's been digging of what turns into silt later. There's been digging of that dirt, and it's been dumped onto an area that then points down towards our property at 41 Oak Street. Fairly certain when it rains again, when it's above freezing, that it's just going to siltify our land. And I'm just disgusted. I'm disgusted that something that you all asked them to do 2 weeks ago, they're not doing, and they brought in someone to explain to us why they shouldn't. Thank you.
Is there anything else from anybody on the floor? Anybody on the internet?
Charlotte Kroll. Charla, unmute yourself.
Okay, I've got a list. As far as the testing is concerned, there's a whole section of my land that they dried out, and it's been dry since January of 2023. So if they want to test over there, no water has been going there. So I volunteer that field or that grove or my trees to that effect. Okay, so that's the first question. The second question is, why are you burning the stump grindings? Because it smells awful. It smells like coal and chemicals and all sorts of crap.
Is anything being
We haven't been burning anything on site. I don't know,
That's not from us.
maybe, I can't imagine what that would be from us, but
So you said that you're burning stump grindings, but you're not?
No, they said they're not burning anything on site.
Okay. Must be somebody else.
It's the first time I hear about that, Charla.
What?
It's the first time I hear about that. If it comes
Yeah,
up,
well-
let me know right away, please.
Who said that?
Brandon.
Brandon? Okay. I'll let you know. It's awful.
I figured you'd know my voice by now.
but it's probably from somebody else if you guys aren't doing it. On the pond that you just put in this week for pumping water into, when's the last time you pumped water into it? Because it's been freezing.
We haven't started yet. We're just kind of finishing up. We just started that this week, so we're hoping to have it ready to be pumping into it tomorrow, hopefully.
Okay, when you pumped the silt up the hill, was it January the 13th? Or around that date? The last time?
Well, the last good-sized storm we got was January 9, January 10, which was a Friday into a Saturday.
Okay, and I couldn't go up there until the 13th. So the water that you pump up the hill, you look over the wall or the curtain, there's no water on the other side. But it's coming up, as you see in this photo, on my side. See it?
Oh, your background?
Yes, that's my background.
Okay.
That silty water is what they pumped up. Now, that shows that this stuff goes underground and then it comes back up.
So you're saying, Charlotte, that it's bleeding under the silt fence and discharging onto your land? Is that what you're saying?
It's not even hitting the silt fence. It's coming up under the rocks and the bales. I got pictures. That's why it's, you know, if the bigger hole you dig in the ground, the more it's going to come out on my side. All right, so, all right, that's the other question.
Finishing that.
I thought you were asking me a question directly.
I was just trying to clarify the comment. Charlie, are you saying that the water is coming out of the ground silty, and you think that's from the water that we have on the site?
Well, the water that's on site, normally it comes up clear, but when you turn on the pumps, that's what came out.
Okay.
It's almost as if you got a direct underground pipe that goes right back down to me. I'm just so thrilled.
But that's been redirected now up to the upper basin you just made.
Yeah, we're trying to do that now, yeah. And I mean, it could be filtering through some stone on that bottom. You know, it's hard to say without saying exactly where that is.
Okay.
That brings up my next question. Is there some way you can put a dye or something in that and see where it comes out?
A dye, D-Y-E, dye. In the pump water, is what you're saying, Charlotte?
Yes.
That's an interesting thought.
To do that on a farm.
I don't know.
I would say that because they're moving the discharge point, that we should wait and see if there's an issue and then maybe take.
We got another rain event coming this week, and let's take a look and see what it does. Because you have made some changes since I've been up there.
That's fair, thank you.
And I plan on visiting your site at least once a week myself, so.
One more question. Are they still going to pump that water down my northwest grove there
Into the diversion ditch?
with what they call a diversion ditch, but it comes right down into me? That's the one where we did the midnight view.
We're not going to be pumping any water. There is still stormwater that is
Intercepted.
Intercepted and you know is you know.
So no more direct discharge into that diversion ditch?
Correct. It may be stormwater runoff, but not pumped water.
Gotcha.
And I did follow the hoses off that pump all the way up. They are quite a ways from where they were pumping before, so let's see what the next storm event does, and we'll go from there.
The gentleman that wants to come and look at it, you're very welcome to step over the barrier and look on our side, and you can see exactly what's going on.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. I know it says no trespassing, but
We'll give you
we
a heads
did
up.
that so the hunters doesn't start shooting at the house. I think that's about it, so I'll bug you with something else. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that has anything?
Lisa Mazinski.
Lisa Mozinski, 60 Oak Street again. Mr. Chair, are you satisfied that the slopes around Basin 5 are stable in the approaching weather conditions?
Right now, with them being frozen, I'm a little more comfortable with them being frozen than they were 2 weeks ago when I seen them. But
Okay.
like I said, let's see what happens. I mean, it's,
And can you also give us an update in terms of any plans to redesign the detention ponds? We've heard talk at the Board of Selectmen's meeting and maybe in Sutton that there's some redesign being discussed.
Yeah, and I can expound on that.
I'd like to take a look at the toll poles and see what you got there, and then definitely going to revisit that, and that's going to be redesigned, and that's the way it's going to be. Because, again, we got to make sure this thing works for the long term, and it's not just until the project's done and we get out of town. 20 years from now, we don't want to have a big problem because we didn't do it right in the first place, so definitely going to take a strong look at that. Sorry, Brennan, good?
Thank you.
Almost set.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Is there anything else? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, if we can give the testing gentleman my phone number so he can call.
Charlotte, can I give them your phone number? Because I don't think it's appropriate
Offline?
to give it over the,
We have Charles.
they have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon has our number, so we can give it to him.
Yeah, thanks, Charlotte.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Next up is the cubes at Gilboa Street.
Todd Morey, Principal at Beals Associates. How's that?
All set?
All right. When at the conclusion of your last meeting, when I was here, the enforcement order was issued, fines were levied, and there was discussion about the preparation of a restoration plan that was to be provided by the 16th of January, which I believe that's going to go out for peer review. So we provided that. I don't think Mr. Allen, Art Allen, hasn't seen it yet. So with the commission's permission, if it doesn't get forwarded into him tonight, I'm more than happy to send that to him directly tomorrow. I didn't, because I figured there was a protocol that everything should go through Brandon.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, my understanding from administration is that Mr. Allen is not going to be used for the Douglas side of things. And there are, civil engineering design issues that I don't think that Mr. Allen could have addressed anyway. So if you're going to have a peer review consultant, like on the Uxbridge side, it's the cleanup of the wetland resource area, which I think that Mr. Allen would be qualified for to do in Uxbridge. When you go out to peer review, a lot of this has to do with the design and the construction and the maintenance during the construction period of the stormwater system associated with the project, which is in my opinion, more appropriate to have a civil engineer with this kind of experience to review. Tell me if I'm crazy.
No, absolutely not. I fully agree.
So then someone needs to be contacted to give a proposal to do the work, so then the 53G count could be made, the applicant can put the money into the account, and then they can draw.
Right?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Okay.
Anything from the board?
Mr. Chairman?
Set, Mark?
We have Mr.
Hold on a minute.
Benoit. Okay, hold on.
Is that set? So far?
I'm all set.
Yeah, Mr. Benoit?
Go ahead, Matt.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. Hi, good evening. Community Development Director Matthew Benoit. I just wanted to recommend that for choosing a peer review consultant to use Haley Ward.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll send it out, get a third-party review on it.
Yep.
Well, we'll get a...
Either myself or Mr. Benoit
Yeah,
will
we'll
be in
get
touch
an
with Haley
estimate
Ward.
first, and then...
Yep. Yeah, and then you'll be contacted, and we don't have to do another, meeting for that, just, yeah, it's under 5,000 anyway.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Is there anything else?
No, it's, if in between now and when you send it out, if you have any questions or anything like that,
Yeah.
Brandon has my contact information, and I think several of you do as well.
So the deal with the motion on the fines and the tickets at the last meeting was the fines and the tickets would be levied until this restoration plan was submitted. We received it 8 days after, so they got 7 days worth of fines, so that's $1,400 worth, and as far as I know, that has been delivered to Clayco.
That's correct.
Okay. I will send it out for third-party review,
Yep.
and let's see when there, and then let's get this thing straightened out and cleaned up.
Okay.
So what's going to third-party review again?
The
Design.
design, the construction, and maintenance during construction period, to try to figure out what, verification of what went wrong, or, a design analysis to see if this was just a bad design to begin with, I guess.
There was something else, and I'm glad you interrupted, because I'd like to get a topo of what you have now, what was proposed on that area.
Okay. I can ask them to
Have the
fly
banks
this week.
been stabilized yet?
I believe they're underway. I don't think it's complete yet.
Okay, because I see you have test pits that you're going to test and see what the drainage qualities are in 3 spots in the retention pond, correct?
Correct. We're actually going to run an infiltration test on it, so there's
Okay. The other thing is, do you have any plans that I can see shows the actual drainage pipe as to where they're rooted and where they're going in tanks and?
that would be the overall project drawings, shows all of that.
Okay. If you can give me a copy of that, appreciate it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Again,
I'm a little
I'll send it
confused
out.
as to where these things all go. I know you get 8,000-gallon tanks, and you get 15,000.
Oh, they're bigger than that, but yeah.
But I mean,
I
there's
can
tanks all over the place, and it's like, where's this stuff going to? How's it
Okay.
rooted?
And again, I'll send that all through Brandon.
Yep.
Perfect. And then I will request that the site work contractor put a drone up this week
Yeah.
to get that
I
going.
want to see what it is and what was proposed and where it is now, okay?
You want the whole site or just the pond area?
Mainly the pond area and the part that failed.
Okay.
I'm concerned with that roadway and so forth.
Very good.
Okay. Anything else, Brendan?
Nope.
Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to reiterate, I've been concerned all along about the detention basin and the volume of the detention basin. Obviously, it's failed twice now. It was not designed to fail. It was, I don't know how it was designed to not have an overflow because of what's occurred. Because of what's occurred, I don't think you expected it to overflow. I think you expected it to infiltrate all the water, but it's not. So I think you need to really look seriously at that design so that it doesn't overflow again. And if you raise the driveway, you know, you can increase the amount of volume that detention basin would hold, and I think you should look seriously at that.
Well, I'm gonna respectfully disagree with you just for a moment. The design of that basin is purely infiltration. That's where all the water is supposed to go, infiltration. We know without a doubt that is not what's occurring out there right now. We also know why it's not occurring. Yeah, we also know why it's not occurring. That there has been a lot of sediment that is washed into that. For a variety of reasons. First and foremost, the site has not yet been properly stabilized. So all that sediment is washed into the basin. I do not believe it's a design issue, but if you read through the plan that we have, once we get through the 2 rounds of infiltration testing, we're going to do 2 rounds, one with it in its current state. Excuse me. One in its current state with the sediment in the bottom, and then one after they've taken all the sediment out, restored that bottom to what it should be. If those rates are still not what we thought the design rates should have been, then we're going to look at increasing the capacity of that. And there's 2 ways that I talk about how to do that in there. One is to steepen up the side slopes so we have more bottom area and more volume, and the other is to raise that roadway by 2 feet. I think there's room to do that if we have to.
There is, it seems to me.
Yep. So those are the 2 items that we put in there after we do the infiltration testing to find out where it is. The other thing that I want to make sure that you understand about the restoration plan, and this is a very, very important component of it, we don't want that done. We don't want the infiltration testing. We don't want the basin cleaned out until all that tributary area has been stabilized. Okay? Because the last thing we want to do is go through, get it all cleaned out, have everything operating the way it should be, and then have this again. I think during the last folks that were here, you even mentioned, let's make sure this is going to function for the long term. We don't want to be back here in 20 years talking about this again. I don't want to be back here in a year talking about this again, to be honest with you. So there's a sequence in that restoration plan that I think is also very, very important in addition to just the components that are in there. It's the sequencing that they have to do in the right order.
Now, cleaning the area out that all the sediment went into, you guys put a plan together for getting it all out of there, or?
They've got to go in there with probably mini excavators and skid steers to get it out of there.
How will you access it and get back up the bank?
From the end of it, and they'll come down the tail end of it. It's a little bit flatter than 3 to 1.
Which is going to entail...
That's not your property, so do you have a plan
you're talking about where talking about where it blew out?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the sediment inside the basin. No, they will have to access and go down over that bank. There is a grading and drainage easement right on that corner where that slope was, and that's how they'll have to access that.
But this is a good question, Mark, because that land, my understanding, is owned by the town of Douglas, right?
That is correct.
So has the town of Douglas given their assent to allow this work to be done, the cleanup work?
Yeah, and just the creation of a way to get down there is going to create a possible, area that will move sediment as well. So, has potential for erosion. So it'd be nice to see how that's being planned. This is a lot of material.
Yeah, because you think about Oak Street, there's a lot of sediment that went on the Mazinski Trust land. They had to get permission from the Mazinskis. They had to get a certificate of insurance. They had to get at least a verbal, okay to go onto the land. So I think this is a similar kind of situation, especially if the land is owned by the town of Douglas. It's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll work on that.
Yeah, I think at minimum a certificate of insurance that names town of Douglas as additional insured in case anything goes awry while work is ongoing, right?
That's fine.
And that's Uxbridge property, right?
No, it's a town of Uxbridge, but it's owned by the town of Douglas.
Right, but I'm saying, so Uxbridge Conservation, they'd have to get them involved in that too.
Yeah, they
Oh,
they
they're-
are
they're
involved.
involved. They're
yeah.
involved.
And they're, they're going to handle the cleanup on their side, and I think Douglas is, part of this is making sure that it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, okay. Anything? Eric? No? Mike? Jim? Is anybody in the audience?
Point of information, where is...
Could you come up and...
come on up.
Come up and just give your name, please?
Pam Schwartz, 343 Southeast Main Street. Where is this?
I can show you on a map if you give me a moment.
Terrific.
So it's on Gilboa Street, more or less across the street from the factory, where that new entrance is. So just one moment while I create the map here and share it. Okay. Lackey Dam Road turns into Gilboa Street from is Route 146 here. So you got, and then you go by that gas station with the Dunkin' Donuts, and you go past. And this map's a little old, but this set of woods right here is now a roadway that goes into the old gravel pit where they have the big distribution warehouse in here. And the area that was affected is right in here. In fact, you see there's a little black area here and a little black area here. Those are a couple of water bodies that were impacted. The sediment, and in fact, this whole slope collapsed and went down into this area, and then the dirty water filled up both areas. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anybody else? Is there anybody on Zoom that wants to speak on this? Okay. We all set?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, next, Brian Keevan, 41 Pine Street. Is there anybody here for that?
And there never has.
That's really ours to try to do something about. We have
Donation.
kind of falling by the wayside yet again, after it did for 8 or 10 years. There was a letter that was written to the from the Open Space Committee, written to the Conservation Commission on November 20th, regarding the conservation property donated by the Keevan family on Southeast Main Street. We would like to point out that the easement at the street has a new owner. The new owners need to be approached to make them aware of the easement and the work that the town wants to do to establish a parking area, install the sign, and open up the trail. As the Conservation Commission owns the property, we figured you would want to make the contact. We have priced out the tree removal necessary at $2,000 plus and have volunteer waivers on our website. Our budget is $100 per year, so we would need a grant or financial contributions. Later needs may be surveying, boulder clearing, and trail clearing. Enclosed is a sketch of the area showing the 10 by 20 parking area within the easement. Do you have the sign for this location yet? What are your plans for this area? So the Open Space Committee has kind of done a little bit of checking into creating the parking area, but I think they're looking for us for some answers in regards to moving it forward and making sure that this parking area is created. And I thought I saw a note regarding the sign. I don't have it in front of me. Eric, do you remember seeing it by chance? I think it was being made. So I think the sign, which identifies the property, is in the process of being made this winter and will be available, come spring. But, nothing's really happening with us in regards to getting the site cleared and getting the Highway Department to help maybe with creating a little parking area.
Can you check into that, Brendan?
Where do I start?
Well, first thing, I think you got to get a hold of the landowners and bring them up to date as to what's going on as far as this donated land, and we need the access to get in there.
Maybe there's something I can work with Matt
Maybe
going
through the
on.
town
because
and-
This is something at the moment, I'm completely unfamiliar with. I'm going to have to bring myself up to date on it.
Right. I mean, I can help you with it. I'd like to see this moved along. It's been so many years that it's just been sitting there, and the Keevan family donated the land, and then we didn't do anything about it. So, I think we have an obligation to them to move this forward and get it into public availability.
Okay. All right.
Like it was intended.
I'll be in touch with you very soon.
All right. Thanks.
It sounds like a very worthy cause, so I'm on board,
I
I'm
mean,
on board.
it's 60 acres of land. It's nice, it's a nice property.
That's a good chunk.
Yeah.
Is it all wetlands, though?
No.
No, that's unusual. It's good. Usually the land that gets donated is all swamp.
Yep.
Is there anything else?
I don't believe this is.
Anything else from the board? Yes.
Pam Schwartz again, Southeast Main Street. I'm familiar with that property. It's very friendly with the Keevans, and their intent is, like you were saying, was to make it public access. Nothing really has been done in there at all.
Exactly.
It's status quo since the time they donated. So it would be nice to see. It is a nice piece of property. I know hunters have gone in there to do hunting, but no wetlands.
Thank you.
I mean, and it could be accessible now, but, there's no off-street parking at the moment, which would be, obviously make it a little bit challenging to access. So it's the creation of the off-street parking that we really need to try to advance. Other than that, I mean, we could lay out a trail to get in there and get to work on it.
Yeah, because there's in our binder, there is a map of all these properties. Which one is it under? I just saw it.
Here's a sign right here.
Yeah.
It's under Pine. There's a sign right here.
Yep. What number is it under again?
It's listed Pine.
Oh, yeah, here's the note, January 19th.
Which number?
It's labeled Pine.
Oh, here it is, yeah. Oh, yeah. Here we go. So we've got these signs. Right, so what's up with the signs? The signs need to be upgraded, or this is just showing where the areas are?
No, I think it's just a basic, I think what is just a basic sign, and they kind of highlighted what should be on it.
Oh, what should be on it? Okay,
Right.
so.
That's what I think this
All right,
is.
so there's got to be some money donated or allocated to create that?
No, the DCR was going to create it for us. They created signs for us in the past.
Okay.
The conservation land signs, but I guess the January 19th letter, so just a couple days ago, says that the person that was doing the sign has retired or no longer works for the DCR. And Mr. Goslin will not have time to make the sign. He's not even sure if the machine still works. So we're now out of luck with DCR on getting the sign made for us.
Oh, okay.
So,
And wasn't there a map of all the properties that the Conservation Commission actually owns?
Yeah, that's in the beginning.
It's in the beginning.
It lists them out.
Right, but these are some of the properties that are
Yep, it's right here,
shown.
right in the very beginning.
Very, very beginning?
Yep. It's a commission report, it's right there.
number 3,
Number
section 3.
3, Energy, Lake Shore.
No, it's going to be on the commission report.
Still not seeing it.
Yeah, you got to go back.
You know, I saw it a little earlier. My point is that it's probably high time that I probably visit some of these properties to get familiar with them. So that's what I'm going to have to do.
Okay, it's right here.
This property is not identified on this.
Oh, no?
No.
No.
Okay, well,
So that needs to be brought
here
up
it
to
is.
date, too.
see, French property, Briarwood Circle,
Yeah.
Cummings Court, Chestnut Tree, U Street, Manchog Street, Mumford Street, Keven property off Southeast Main Street.
Number 8.
That's 60 acres. Is this the one we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so number 8, we have these,
It's not on the map.
it's not on the map? Of course not. Well, I can definitely look this up.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Now a little more familiar.
Let me see. All right. So is there any other discussion on that? Anything
There
from the...
is a map of the property with the letter, with the November 20th letter from the Open Space Committee.
You know, I didn't see that letter. Is that in the binder as well?
It was in a previous copy of the binder. I'm not sure if it still is or not.
No, it's not.
I don't think
I
it
didn't
still
see it.
is. But I took it out of my binder and saved it.
All right,
So I can make a copy and give it to you.
that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else on that? 41 Pine Street? Anybody from the floor? Anybody on the internet? Okay, Lakeshore Drive enforcement order? Is there someone here for that?
I see Mr. Mahoney.
Good evening.
Evening.
Robert Moran, 56 Lakeshore Drive.
All right, sorry, Mr. Moran. I called you Mahoney. Sorry.
I was wondering.
Yeah.
Someone else. So I don't have a whole lot of an update, maybe more of a question, but I can update you that Mr. Goodison continues to install additional scuppers, as you call them, and I think he's up to 10 at this point.
Is it positive or negative?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's part of what I would call an experiment. And that's what he agreed to, is to experiment. And I'm convinced he won't give up until this gets at least solved, because he has sediment coming down onto his property now, too. You know, the road is still affected by stormwater and, frankly, the absence of stormwater management, which has been the subject of much discussion that we've had here. And excavation continues on the lots up gradient of where we are. And I can also say there's a small amount of sediment that is still getting into Manchog. Nothing like what we saw on the storms in July and last year. At the last meeting, the commission requested that a as-built plan be produced. Has that been provided?
No. No, but there was, I remember talking about an as-built plan, but I don't think that that's what happened. My recollection is that, so Mr. Goodison was speaking, and he didn't want to have to spend the money on survey. Instead, came out with an alternative solution to that, which the Conservation Commission didn't say no to anyway.
But I think Vice Chairman Mungen requested a plan again.
Yeah, I did. I still wanted to have a plan that indicated where these scuppers, where these drainage pipes were installed.
But not necessarily a surveyed plan, but
I
something.
wasn't looking for a registered land surveyor plan.
Right, and I think that's what that Mr. Goodison agreed to, said, no problem, we can provide you something, but I haven't received anything. So I'm still waiting.
Is there any consequence to that plan not coming across? Or when, is it timeline? When will that happen?
I don't think a timeline was put on it.
No, we didn't put a timeline on it, but I think that if we don't get something for the next meeting, I think we'll want to contact him and make sure that he knows he we'll need to have it to us for the next meeting.
Brendan, can you
Our
follow
next
up on that?
meeting is the 12th,
Sir.
I think, of February.
The next meeting is, I can find out. Yeah, this next meeting, 12th of February.
And then 2 weeks after that?
It'll be like 2 or 3 weeks after.
And then the next.
It'll be the first
Yeah, it would be
Monday
March
in
4th.
March.
Right. Yeah, it looks like there's only, no, yeah, there's 2 meetings on the 12th and 26th.
Oh, there is, okay.
Yeah.
So the 26th of February would be the next, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all the update I can really offer at this point.
Okay.
I mean, I will continue to watch it, and, you know,
Thank you.
it has long been my opinion that we need stormwater management along that road. The road is changing very fast, as you mentioned. You said that
It
light
is.
speed.
It's a private road, that's the whole
Yeah,
problem.
but jurisdiction can extend when it affects the resource area, which it clearly has, and we may differ on that, and we may have to go further than that, you know, to DEP or the legal system. I'm not sure where we'll go with it, but, you know, we need, we need the road drainage to work. My property suffered a serious loss, and I've had a couple of instances being here at this commission where you committed to things that didn't get done. The enforcement order was issued incorrectly. It was, we were told it was going to be revised. Matt Benoit's on the line, he knows that. You know, we were told that we were going to require a plan from owners, which you agreed to 2 meetings ago, and then come to last meeting, and you said you didn't require it. So now we're maybe on the third serious item, and I am hopeful that we get action to complete a legitimate stormwater management plan. I'm the guy down the hill with water flowing across his property into the Manchog resource. So I'll be back again, and I
Yeah,
appreciate the
We'd
commission's
expect you
attention.
to be back. It's, what I've directed Brendan to do is to get a hold of them and tell them we want that map by the next meeting. They got to produce something, and we'll see what you got there. All right?
Okay?
But we're not going to let it drop. We'll,
No, I sense that, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
okay.
Phyllis Charpentier, Manchug Pond Foundation, 20 Irma Jones Road, Sutton. My question is, if it's coming over neighbors' properties into Manchug Pond, whose jurisdiction would it be? You know, is it a planning board kind of thing? Who would require, you know, stormwater management?
Stormwater management falls under the Conservation Commission.
Yes.
But it's a private road, so it gets a little bit, and we're trying to
Right.
weed our way through it to figure out what's going on, where the water's
Okay.
coming from, and so forth.
Because Manchug Pond Foundation, we're on our third 319 grant, so we work a lot on private roads. We've been on Ledgestone and Parker and Bigelow and Douglas. So every time we identify a pipe that goes into the lake, we try to filter that water before it gets to the lake, so we put in some kind of roadside structure. But we always have to get the necessary permits and have an as-built plan for swales or rain gardens or whatever. So this seems to be kind of fluffy, you know, like what, who's who or what.
Here's the
And-
problem.
It has been fluffy. That's
Yeah.
why we wanted to see what's been done and why, you
Right.
know,
And if we could,
get an
you
idea
know,
of
work
what's happening.
together to get it done, because I have seen pictures of Manchug Pond where it's a private road, it's not as visible as, you know, say Holt Road and Oak Street, but, you know, if we could work with them, or, you know, we have plans for rain gardens, we could supply the property owner, you know, or you take a ride down there and there's a hill and there's the pipe, you know, coming out the base of the lawn, so,
Okay.
okay, thank you very
Hold
much.
on, Phyllis. Here's
Yes.
the issue. I have the road highlighted. Usually,
Yes.
the road is, public road, right?
Right.
But in this case, if you go to the property card, it's owned by David Cahill,
Okay.
okay? So private road with, and it has its own map and lot number, which is kind of unusual. But it's owned by, the road is owned by a private, private person, which means that the requirement for stormwater would be on his shoulders. And
Right.
what's been happening is that Mr. Goodison, who lives down here at the bottom of the hill, has been helping Mr. Cahill deal with the stormwater. But they haven't done any kind of formal engineering or, site plans. They've been doing stuff on the fly, swamp Yankee engineering, I like to call it. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, because there was an egregious violation, and something had to happen as soon as possible. And to Mr. Goodison's credit, he took the bull by the horns, and he started doing stuff which I think has significantly helped the issue.
Right.
Now we're getting to a point where the commission wants to see something on paper that at least memorializes what's already been done. So that's where we're at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
There
for
have been
addressing.
improvements to it, so.
Yeah, and I find it unfortunate, probably shouldn't say this, that, this was not an accepted road for housing, and then the planning board approved 5 lots to be built on this road without any requirements for upgrading of the road. And so now we're put in a position of trying to fix the issue, and it's like,
And the two
it was bound to
property
happen.
owners- The two property owners who the flow goes over their property into Manchug Pond seem to be the ones that are dealing with it.
Right.
Where are they?
Exactly. And they shouldn't have to.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else, anything on this subject? Anybody on, online? Okay. Gonna move on. Potter Road.
Yeah. Let me bring up some stuff here.
Potter Road, where are you?
I can give you a quick rundown on that, Mr. Chairman, if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's see here. Here we go. I'm just going to bring you through some pictures that I took back on the 11th. Okay. There we go. So we got a complaint that water is rushing down Potter Road, transporting the sediment. It's a dirt road. Well, it's partly a dirt road, partially paved, partially dirt. Okay? And here's the dirt road that's already been, quote-unquote, fixed from the January 9, January 10 storm. This is looking back up towards Manchug Street. And then I turn around. I'm standing in the same place. I just turned 180 degrees. And you can see the gully that's been created. And what I'm told is this happens on a fairly regular basis. So the water continues down. You can see there's a bridge down here. Well, that's the Mumford River right there. Yep. Oops, sorry. There we go. You continue walking down. Then I turn back around 180 degrees, looking back up. You can see the gully that's been created by the water coming down the street. And then we get down to the Mumford River. This is an impoundment of the Mumford River, right at the bridge. Sediment, what happens is sediment takes a left-hand turn to the north once it hits the low spot, and a little bit to the right, but mostly to the left, to the north. And this is where all the sediment settles out. And this is, so Potter Street is public up until the bridge. Past the bridge, it's a private road. So this section right here is public. And the problem is this land right here, which is not on the road, is private property. So the person who complained owns this property and says, listen, all this sediment keeps on coming down the road onto our land, and not only that, but it's created, I'll go back to the last one. It's created a bit of a delta on our property going into the water over here. So that's no good. So unlike Lake Shore, this is a public road. And the question is, what can be done to help to try to stop every time we get a big rain, have all the sediment come down the road and then into the riverfront area, into the buffer zone of the water, and then into the water in the future. And that involves the highway department and public funds, I suppose.
Has the highway department been contacted on it?
Not yet. This is step number one, Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
is this complaint and alerting the Conservation Commission.
I'd recommend that we get a hold of them, make them aware of it,
Yep.
and see if we can't come up with a restitution on it.
Okay.
And anything from the board?
No, that's what I would want to do as well. Make sure that they're aware of the situation. Well, I'm sure they're aware of it, but I think they need to be more than aware of it. We need to come up with a way to not have it continue to occur.
Right. Okay.
Anything from the floor? Anything from anybody online? Okay. Okay, now let's go to 6. Number 6. Okay, request for certificate of compliance, DEP number 143-1088, Daniel Burrows, 57 Manchog Street. It's map 143, lot 30.
Mr. Chairman, I've been to the site to inspect it. At this time, the work is done. I think the work was done in compliance with the order conditions. The only problem is that the grass isn't growing yet, so I can't say that the ground is completely stable. So I suppose in the absence of, grass cover, my recommendation is a partial certificate of compliance at this time for the actual construction being in compliance, but the ground not yet being stable. That is, I don't recommend pulling up the erosion controls yet.
Okay, but they have stuff there to control it through the winter?
They do.
Okay.
They do.
Mark?
Do we have a plan? Wait, what is this?
Number 6.
57 Manchog Street.
Manchog.
Yeah, I mean, is a proponent and a plan? Do we have a plan?
Yeah, we do.
Yes,
Oh,
number 6
where is
in the
it?
book.
I'm still on 5, sorry. Yes, I would agree, if it's already built and done, but obviously we can't get grass growing in the middle of winter, so it can't be a complete certificate of compliance until there's actual grass.
Eric?
I agree.
Mike? You all set?
Yep, all set.
Anybody from the floor have anything on this? Is there anybody from online? Okay. You want to vote on this?
Yep.
I
Someone
make a motion that we approve a partial certificate of compliance for Daniel Burrows, 57 Manchog Street, with final certificate of compliance when the grass is growing and, yeah, that.
We have a motion,
Second.
second by Jim. All in favor?
Mark Mungem, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Jim Farr, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
All right.
Okay. And next up, we have request for certificate of compliance, DEP number 143-1068. Danielle Besseron, is that correct?
Yeah, there's Joyce Hastings, wetland consultant, online as the representative for this certificate of compliance.
That's at 61 Hughes Street, map 197, lot 9.
Correct.
Yes, Joyce Hastings from GLM Engineering representing Daniel Bergersen. And we have requested a certificate of compliance for this project. This was a driveway that we relocated. May I share my screen?
Can we give Ms. Hastings sharing ability? All right, you should be good. And if you're not, try a second time. Sometimes it takes a few seconds for it to kick in. There we go.
So I included two plans with this one. The one was a red overlay, and what we had done was we relocated a driveway that previously came to the existing dwelling out back and abandoned this area and constructed a driveway that came straight down from U Street. We had stone trenches that went along both sides, and then we planted 5 trees in the area. The 100-foot buffer zone runs like this. And then we planted 5 trees in this area here of the existing, what was the existing driveway. The area was dug out a little bit, and then the trees were installed in the area where the driveway was. So everything was installed. The area along the edge of the driveway was stabilized with a combination of leaf mulch and leaf material basically on the edges. There was some seeding along the edges. The grass is not completely growing. This area here is the house that's being built at 61U. This is the back edge of it. That's outside the 100-foot buffer zone. And one of the conditions that you requested is the driveway be pitched towards the stone on each side, and that was done. The driveway pavement ends about in this area here, and then there were 2 sumps or settling basins at the end of the stone in each end. So we were, the house was, they're planning to sell the house at some point, and they were looking to get a certificate of compliance for the driveway.
Do we have any maps on this? I mean,
We have an as-built. Yeah, it's in here. It's just the way I like to see it, too.
There should be 2. One, a black line.
I don't have one.
I have
that
one.
just shows existing conditions.
Yeah,
and
give him that.
second with a red
Nah.
line overlay.
So this one's another one that's a little bit before my time. I think it all looks good. I just wanted to get confirmation that the infiltration trenches and the settling basin are actually functioning as you know, designed.
They are. So we've been watching them over this crazy storm season that we've been having, and things are working pretty well. I think that you required the road be pitched in both directions really helped out, rather than being either slanted away from the wetlands or one side or the other. It works that we split it and it goes into the infiltration trenches.
So there's a little bit of a crest in the middle, you saying?
Yes.
Okay.
No issues with where the pavement ends and it goes to gravel with washing at the very end?
No, there hasn't been. There hasn't been any scouring there, even with all the rain we've had where the pavement runs into the other.
Okay.
The developer will be on site for at least the next year and, is in communication with the homeowner back. So they'll keep an eye on it and see, just to make sure that ending off the edge of the pavement, running into the gravel doesn't change anything. That gravel driveway was in place for a very long time and it was all but impervious.
We don't have pictures or anything to look at?
I don't, no.
So I have a couple that I can share. So this is, again, this is going down the driveway and with the pavement.
When was this picture taken?
It was taken the day before the snowstorm, so that was last week.
Okay, thank you.
So what I wanted to show here was, this is the edge of this is outside the 100, but in addition to the erosion control, they bermed up an area here so that water that might come off the the yard before it's stabilized doesn't wash down the hill, and so far it has not. They've also run the roof infiltration into a series of, there's underground storage, and there's also a series of to capture the roof drain so that it settles out before, gets the velocity out before it goes down over the yard. And then I have, again, this one here is just looking up the driveway. We did have in that last storm, not the last snowstorm, but the storm before that, there were some trees that came down in the untouched area. But this is the combination of grass and leaves as I'm looking back up the trench. And that's all I have really for any kind of pictures. I didn't get. I didn't get more than that.
Well, Mr. Chair, my recommendation would be another partial certificate of compliance, that the construction was done in substantial compliance and conformance with the site plan, but the stability still isn't there, and it's not safe to bring up the erosion control. So they can get a partial. It's my opinion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and seconded. All in favor?
Mark Mungem, aye.
Mike Rocco, aye.
Jim Farn, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Okay, all set, Joyce.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.
Okay, there's a discussion on 286 Webster Street.
Yeah.
I think that's been moved, right?
It has been moved. That was brought forth by Pine Sand and Gravel. And they have this B-series wetland that's an isolated wetland, and they wanted to know what they couldn't do with it, but they kicked it down the road, so no discussion tonight.
Okay, next is 75 Old Farm Road, DEP 143-0661. Conclusion?
Good evening.
Evening.
So, this is Alpha Omega Engineering. We came before the commission for discussion back in September.
Do you have any maps on this one?
This was,
Wait a minute, I'm gonna have it. I'll take it. Yeah, 7, 8, yeah, okay. I got it. Okay.
so this was a project was approved back in 2005, 2006, and it was expired, never been done. That was the house that was approved, the leach field. That was the wetland line here, there's isolated area right there. And there's a septic. Basically, my client doesn't want to build this size house, he's just going for a much smaller. So I have a comparison here between what was approved before, the big house and the septic, and the well was right here by the edge of the wetland. And what we're proposing right there, which is a much smaller house, and actually a smaller septic system and a minor grading. The only difference is that this is the property line here, the wetland across the line here was here, and this is the new wetland line. So we have much more wetland on this side of the property. So we're moving the driveway from basically right here to this area here, smaller house. The only option we just we're looking for is just if we can have a small corner of the house, it would be like 47 feet away from the wetland. We cannot fit the, get smaller than that for a house. The septic system is going to be much smaller than what we proposed for us because it's less bedrooms and a different new technology septic that was allowed for a smaller system. The well will be about 17 feet away from the wetland because it's only like meeting the requirement for septic. We can like get a variance for the conservation for the board. That's so I'm just wondering if the commission would be okay with that, open for this idea. We had an okay back in September. It was a previous commission. I know there's people in the commission would like to get their opinion.
If I may, Mr. Chairman. So let me get the history. This was approved in what, 2005?
2005, 2006.
And so there was an order condition and that ran out. That expired. And nothing was ever built. So you got to come back. And the question is, first, do we have to file? And if we do file, what's the idea? And what, is it an RDA? Is it an NOI? Is that what you're going with?
We're going to be, because the requirement here is there is a 50-foot no buildings, and we're going to be about 47 feet. And also there is like a 25-foot no touch, but we will have to do some work for the well itself to keep it away from the septic system, some grading for the driveway. So we will be invading the 25-foot and also for the no touch.
And this is mostly because the wetland is now
is getting large.
is being interpreted as being large as well.
Yes.
Who did the delineation?
Robert Murphy.
Okay. All right. Was there a certificate of compliance, work never began, ever done for the old one? Okay, well, if and when you submit this, submit that at the same time. Okay. So how strict are you on your 50-foot no build?
I'd like to see some drawings, other than just briefly look at them here. I'd like to see the drawings and take a look
Yeah.
at what they want to do
What was
before I
the
give a
old-
commitment.
The old house, how far was it from the wetland then? Oh, but the wetlands
It's a different
increased.
wetland. The wetland is actually close back to here only.
Yeah.
It's like this line, now it's 50 feet farther.
Oh, and from here.
Yeah. But the house is much smaller. This is like almost half the size of the
We have in the past, when we've had someone come to us that had an older plan and had to reapply, we have been more lenient, I will say. There's a house on West Street that's definitely within 50 feet. That's under construction right now.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, it's on the left-hand side as you go out of town, going up West Street. So, it's, prefer not to, but 47,
It's a very tiny corner, very small area.
I'd want the driveway to be as far away from the wetland and, maybe even having a wall if need be on the left-hand side of the driveway to try to tighten up the setback from that wetland.
I mean, setback for a driveway, like 10 feet for grading and 15 feet for the driveway. We keep it actually the grading more than 15 feet away, and the driveway is about 20-something feet away. So we're pushing the driveway as far as we can.
If this was a new lot that we were just seeing, I wouldn't be as, lenient. But I think because this is a lot that had been approved for building prior, we still want to look at it and still want to make sure it's
Right.
okay. But
Especially where your wetlands have moved now. I want to
Well, that's the issue, is that the old house kept all disturbance at least 50 feet away, right? But you can't do that now because there's a finger at the bottom that Robert Murphy flagged as being more broad. That's what it is you're talking about? Right, but otherwise, it's an undeveloped lot. So, and obviously, this is all going to have to be verified by me, whether or not I even agree with the wetland boundary to begin with.
So is the front of the house right on the 50-foot road setback line?
And the house is like 30 by 46. And the old house was like almost 100.
Can't cut off that corner, huh? Maybe they want to have an angled fireplace on the corner or something.
It's a kitchen.
Where is Old Farm Road? What's it off of?
It's a new development off of South Street.
Okay.
Newish development. I mean, it's 20 years old or 25 years old, but it's not an original town street, and it is a subdivision.
I was going to say, I live down South Street. I don't recognize the name. I'm saying, where's that?
It's up South Street.
That was a long time.
Just past the, it's not very far down. You go past the camp meeting.
Yeah.
And you start going up the hill, and it's right off to the right.
Okay, I think I know you are now.
It's Downs Farm.
Yep.
It's
Dickie Downs' place.
Dickie Downs' place, correct.
Okay.
So here's what I'm not understanding. I'm on the tax assessor's map, and I went to Old Farm Road, and it's telling me it's Woodland Road. What is going on?
Well, they can all get cleared up when he sends the application in.
All right.
Okay. Any other discussion on it?
Yeah, I got it.
Guys all set? Does anybody from the floor have any questions? Anybody on the Zoom have a question? Okay.
No, I got it figured out now.
Am I right? Is that where it is?
It connects to Woodland Road on the on the backside. Yeah, in fact, that 69 Woodland Road with what's his name? I forget. Came in recently.
Yeah, just recently about extending Woodland Road.
Yes, extending Woodland Road. That Margaret Bacon.
Correct.
Was in. Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be at our next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Zero.
Okay. We'll get on to old business. Public hearing continuance. A notice of intent for Christopher Bentoncourt.
Right. Yep, go ahead and open it up.
295 South East Main Street, map 266, lot 13-6. Jim, did you watch the video?
Yes.
Okay. And asked to waive the reading.
And could I get a motion to waive the reading?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and seconded to waive the meeting, the readings. All in favor?
Mark Mungem, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Jim Farr, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye. Okay, is there anybody here for that?
Tom Schutz of Goddard Consulting is joining us on Zoom.
Good evening, all. Tom Schutz from Goddard Consulting here on behalf of the applicant at 295 Southeast Main Street, also known as Lot 6 in this. So this is our second hearing before you, and there's just some minor comments from the commission that we took care of and revised the plan and then resubmitted to the Conservation Commission. Those comments were, the commission wanted a split rail fence to demarcate the edge of the 25-foot buffer zone, so that was added to the plan. And we also pulled in the limit of the disturbance in the backyard, especially behind the septic leach field. If you want to let me share my screen, or else Brandon can share.
Yeah, go
just to
ahead.
show
Now,
briefly.
Tom.
This is perfectly fine.
Tom, I don't remember receiving these revised plans. When did they get submitted?
They were submitted virtually. We haven't submitted the hard copies yet. We're going to
Okay.
submit those tomorrow.
So when did they get submitted virtually?
I believe they got submitted last week.
Last week, all right. I don't remember getting them. Okay, but go ahead and share. It's probably my bad, but I don't know.
So here's our site plan again, just a brief reintroduction. We're proposing a 4-bedroom dwelling, which is located in this vicinity with an associated driveway. We also have a stone infiltration trench, which is going to mitigate the stormwater from the driveway itself. We have a stockpile area located to the east of the proposed dwelling. We also have a stormwater management system located to the northwest, and then a septic leaching field. We pulled in the limit of disturbance, which can be shown right here with this dotted black line. That was pulled in significantly around the leaching field and was no longer out towards the 25-foot buffer zone. We also added the split rail fence, which can be shown with this black line with the white squares inside of it. So that's going to demarcate the edge of the 25-foot buffer zone, to not allow any further progress into the buffer zone in the future. So that's what we have for Lot 6.
Okay, Brennan?
Thank you. Yeah. My notes here, split rail fence directly behind the house.
Yeah.
Do we have that again, Tom?
Yeah, it's right.
That out right
It's on the
there?
plan.
Okay, and...
Yes, wait, except that it's shown on the 25-foot buffer line, even though we're not clearing any or disturbing anywhere close to that. So why would we want to have the fence set way back from the limit of work?
I believe that you had asked for the 25-foot buffer zone to be demarcated in some way, and then you came to the conclusion of a split rail fence, so that's where we put it.
So how logistically, how's that going to be working if you're going through the woods? Because you have nice straight lines here. What if there's a tree in the way?
Yeah.
We can certainly pull it into the erosion control line, if that's okay.
Yes.
Yes, please.
That's the intention.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll revise the plan to pull in the split rail fence to be at the edge of the erosion control barrier.
Okay. And then the only other thing was that, was to tighten up the limit of disturbance behind the septic system, which looks like they did.
Yeah.
Yep, they did that.
Yep. So you do that, and looks like we're good.
Yep.
Awesome.
Anything else, Mark?
Just a second.
Yep.
So I suppose the question at this point is, do you want to wait to see that revised plan, or do you want to give it an approval contingent upon that plan coming in the next 21 days?
I'd rather see the plan.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
I'm not seeing a DEP number anyway, so I don't think we have to continue.
Oh, that's right. So,
Exactly.
good point. We can't approve anyway because DEP has not issued a file number for this yet. Right. Continue it. Yep, has to be continued. So no big loss.
Okay. All set?
All set. So I would recommend making a motion for continuance. The next meeting date is February 12.
You have a motion?
Move that we continue the public hearing till February 12th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to move to February 12th. All in favor?
Mark Mangum,
Mark Greco, aye.
Jim Foran, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye. Okay, next is, it's a public hearing, notice of intent, Christopher Betancourt, 299 Southeast Main Street, map 266, lot 13-7.
Yeah, go ahead and ask me again.
Okay, have you reviewed the tapes, Jim?
Yes.
Okay. This one doesn't have a DOP number either.
Right.
So go ahead and
Waive the reading. Waive the reading. Neither does.
get a motion to waive the readings.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to waive the readings. All in favor?
Mark Mungem, aye.
Mike Rocco, aye.
Jim Farr, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye. Okay.
Go ahead, Tom.
All right, so Tom Schutz, Goddard Consulting, here for 299 Southeast Main Street. I believe the main question was a wetland flagging line question. So Brennan and I went out on Thursday of last week and we walked the wetland line together and we discussed, and we ended up moving one wetland flag, a total of 25 feet, and that was the it was the D78 flag, and now that's demarcated as D78R on the plan, moved back 25 feet again. And I'll just share my screen quickly to show the revised wetland flag and then the revision that we make to that. So again, similar concept to the last one, proposed 4-bedroom dwelling with the associated driveway, infiltration trench, septic system, and then the dry well. This right here where my cursor is was the D78 flag originally. It was moved about 25 feet to the northwest, and it didn't affect the buffer zones too much. We still have the 25-foot buffer zone not being impacted on this site at all. Minimal work being done in the 50-foot buffer zone, just a bit of grading and a small boulder wall. That was also something that we changed. There was some concerns about an 8 to 10 foot slope of a 3-to-1 grade. So we're proposing a short boulder wall in the form of a terrace to move the grading back a little bit. And that boulder wall is proposed right here below the septic system. So that's going to lessen the slope and add just a small terrace area. So if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
This plan does not have the split rail fence. Could we add the split rail fence along the limit of work line where it's close to the 25-foot buffer?
Of course.
Behind the septic and to the right of the house as you come off the street?
So basically where it's in jurisdiction, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. We can do a split rail fence around the entire thing. I think that won't be a problem.
Do you have anything else?
No, Mr. Schutz has done everything I asked for.
Okay. Mark?
I'm okay.
Eric? Yeah. Anybody in the audience?
Oh, I do have one question. This is a completely wooded site, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And so you'll clear within the limit of work line?
Absolutely, yep. We're not going to be disturbing anything further than the limit of work.
Thank you.
Nothing from the floor? Anybody online? Okay. Need a motion to continue it?
February 12th.
Make a motion to continue the public hearing to February 12th.
Second that.
We have a motion and seconded to continue to February 12th. All in favor?
Mark Mungem, aye.
Rocco, aye.
Jim Farr, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
You always forget your name.
Okay. Next, we'll... Public hearing. Notice of intent, Christopher Bencourt, 303 Southeast Main Street, map 266, lot 13-8. There's no DEP number on this one either. Did you review the tapes?
Yes.
Jim? Thank you.
And waive the reading.
Could I have a motion to waive the reading?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to waive the readings. All in favor?
Mark Mungem, aye.
Mike Rocco, aye.
Jim Farr, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Floor is yours, Tom.
How's it going, everybody? Again, Tom Schutz, Goddard Consulting. This is for 303 South Main Street. At the last hearing, there wasn't any questions or concern from the commission. However, we did refine the grading in some spots, and we pulled the limit of disturbance in the eastern portion of the backyard in a bit, just to limit the amount of disturbance in the buffer zone. We'll just show the plan quickly for the commission to get a second look at it. So here it is again, same concept as the other two. Proposed 4-bedroom dwelling, asphalt driveway, infiltration trench, the sewage disposal system, and the dry well. The house itself and the driveway is completely out of the buffer zone. The only thing in the buffer zone is the septic system and the dry well and some grading.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, according to my notes, last meeting, Mr. Munjam made a comment that there's quite a bit of area outside the 100-foot buffer not being utilized for the dry well or septic. Any reason for that? And the answer was they can adjust that to fall outside the 100-foot buffer.
Yeah, which I think they did.
Yeah.
No, that's temporary. That's a dry well. There's a dry well there. Did they move it?
No. The dry well wasn't moved, was it?
The dry well wasn't moved. We just refined some of the grading and we pulled in the erosion control, so there wasn't as much disturbance.
There's no way to move that dry well?
I can certainly ask our civil engineer if he can. He wasn't able to be on tonight, but I'll ask him if he can pull it in, and we'll submit other plans if we decide that's possible.
Well, the thing is, the dry well's already outside of the 100-foot buffer zone.
The dry
No,
well is
it's
currently
inside
located
it.
within the 50.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's located in
I'm sorry,
the
Tom.
vicinity
I'm
right
thinking
here.
about the foundation drain. I'm looking at the wrong spot.
Yep, the infiltration trench in the driveway completely outside of the buffer zone, and a portion of the septic system is currently located outside of the buffer zone.
Yeah. All right, see what you can do then.
Yep.
So almost there.
Okay.
Great.
February 12th.
Perfect, thank you.
Anything from the board?
Yep.
Mark? Eric? Mike? Jim?
Okay.
Anything from the floor? Anything from the online? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue this to February 12th.
I move we continue this public hearing until February 12th at 7 o'clock.
Second that.
We have a motion and seconded by Jim to move the public hearing to February 12th. All in favor?
Mark Munjam, aye.
Mike Rocco, aye.
Jim Farn, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay,
let's go
and now we're back
the-
to the beginning.
Yeah. So, 24 violation meeting dates, is that,
Right, so to bring the commission up to speed, we've been spending so much time during the regular meetings for just violations. Looks like tonight's actually not going to be a bad night, but last, 2-3 meetings have gone to past 11 o'clock at night, and the lion's share of that time has been taken up by the violations, so somebody got the bright idea that maybe we should have a separate Concom meeting just for the violations, so we don't have to waste the people doing the applications, which has really only been like an hour or less. And we've been spending 3 to 4 hours on violations. It's not really fair to them. Perhaps we should schedule a separate night just for the violations. But in order to do that, you have to find out if everybody's available anyway, and if so, when could that happen?
well, the other option is, can we change the order? The violations will come at the end.
Of course you could do that.
Then that's another option that we could get. People coming in for just regular hearing will come in, get it done and they go, and they're not sitting here going through all the violations and all this here. I mean, it's like last week, Marlene was here to, right at the end, hers was the last case. She was here after 11.
Margaret, yeah.
Margaret. So That's another option we could do. Instead of picking another night, you could just flip it, so that if you have violations, they're at the end of the night. That's up to the board. Or we can have a separate night to meet on violations. Any discussion?
From my perspective, although I don't like staying here till 11 o'clock, it only happened, once or twice. And my schedule, I don't know that I could do another night.
Okay. How does the board feel about doing the regular business first and then the violations at the end?
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I'm all for changing it around.
Okay.
No, I don't think the vote's not necessary. This is just something that could be done administratively.
So I think
Yeah,
that's...
and honestly, this is how I see it in other towns too, is they make the quote-unquote violators wait to the end as their punishment.
That's a good way to put it.
Let them stay at 11 o'clock,
Why don't we'll try that,
Okay,
okay?
all right, fair enough.
Maybe too, if it's late at night, they're not going to be long-winded and going on and on and on, so. Mailings, we have a water reading from the Whiting Reservoir. Maybe somebody can bring me up to speed on that, because I'm not really sure what we do with that.
Or why, because this has never been explained to me. Nobody ever, trained me or brought me up to speed as to why this is on the agenda, and if anything needs to be done. Let's see, does it say possible votes on that?
No.
No.
No, it's just,
We've always just kind of said, all right, we have it, thank you.
take it off the agenda? Okay, well,
Okay,
are you happy with it?
Yep,
we're all set?
we have the information, thank you.
What information does this give us? Why is it important that it be reported and put on the agenda? Is this something that's happened like in years past? And you say, oh, this needs to go on the agenda every year for discussion?
I don't know.
This is a short story. It's one of my favorite stories. It's by Shirley Jackson. It's called The Lottery. You should read it because it has to do with tradition and why people do stuff, and they don't even know why. Yeah, it sounds like one of those situations.
It is.
Yeah.
We've just always done it that way, right?
Yeah, we've always done.
Wow.
We've always sacrificed one of our community members for the harvest. We don't know why.
Okay,
I don't know if they have a requirement to file with us or not, or to provide.
I don't know. I
because of
got when I came on board, Mark, there was absolutely no communication with me about anything.
okay.
So I've been figuring it out as I go.
Next, we get the minutes. Is anybody going through them?
Please say yes.
We're going to have to set up where somebody's going to do the meetings for the next meeting, right? Can we do that? Like, Eric, it's your job to read the minutes for June 26th and come and let us know next meeting. Can we do that?
Well, everybody has to read the minutes and either
Right.
approve them or not approve them, so having one person do it doesn't really
Oh, that's true.
make sense. Like, it's everyone's responsibility to read the minutes. Sorry.
Okay.
But the thing is, these are getting so in arrears that it's really becoming an open meeting law problem. And they really need to be approved, like last meeting needs to be approved at the next meeting, like on a regular basis. This is really,
Yeah.
really bad.
All right, well, it's only 9:30. Why don't we do one?
I'm okay with that.
All right, let's everybody take 10 minutes and take a look at June 26th, and let's
That
get
sounds great.
Get that behind us.
Which one?
June 26th. Right, that's the next one? That's the first one?
Yeah, what we got here? We got,
That's the one most in arrears? Yes.
yeah, June 20, that's over 6 months ago.
I wasn't here and Eric wasn't here either, so.
Ah, Eric, I picked the wrong one to have you read, huh?
This is a big document.
So, I'm here, Mike's here, Joe's here.
I wasn't here.
I'm here.
You were absent too, so we can't.
Well, who was here?
Can't do this one.
Who was here for June 26th? Who was on the board on June 26th? Please raise your hand.
I was on the board June 26, and I was here.
Yeah.
Were you on the board?
Well, it says I was here,
Yeah,
but,
Jim was here.
yeah.
Were you on the board on June 26, 2023?
So I don't think I was. I
don't-
think I couldn't start until July,
Right, that is right, because that's the new fiscal year. And then,
so I wasn't,
okay. Mike, were you on the board on June 26?
Yes.
so there's a mistake.
How about you, Eric?
I was here, yeah.
So you got 3, so you need 1 more to make a majority, and that you would need Katie Grace.
Yeah, so we
So
can't
that
do
one
this
can't be done. All right, so
So we'll,
who was
let's look
here?
at the next one.
Who was on the board July 17? Jim, were you on the board?
Yeah.
Mike was, Katie Grace was, you were.
No, I was absent. I was on vacation.
You were on vacation, but you still have 4, were you here?
I wasn't here.
Which one?
On July
July
17th.
17th.
So you have 4 here that
You were
can vote on July 17th, so I recommend,
I wasn't here.
you weren't, no.
So I was here, I was absent.
Oh, my God. So you
Okay.
can't do that one.
Can't do that one.
All right, let's go to August 7th. How do you, where's the list of absences?
It's the
Right
second.
underneath it. Second line down.
Oh, well, okay.
August 7th.
August 7th, yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you which one's here, don't worry.
Eric and I were here.
We
Mark
can do it.
Yeah.
and Steve.
Let's
Look
do
at
it.
that.
Let's do it.
All right.
Actually, I was looking at, did have the water readings from White Reservoir, but it
Yeah. They're good, huh?
doesn't, that's it.
We should get them to do the plan for the, for the culverts on Lake Shore Drive.
So we're going to sit here and read this now, is that what we're doing?
Please,
Yes.
pretty
Gonna go
please.
through it and see if you see anything that's got to be corrected.
Five.
Yeah, Lake Shore Drive, remember that.
Now, there's something in here. It talks about Lakeshore Drive and that the homeowners association, the homeowners own to the middle of the road. Whereas tonight we discussed, or it was said that Mr. Cahill owns the road.
Back in August, we were still trying to figure out exactly what was going on and who owned what. If you go by the tax assessor's map, Mr. Cahill owns the road. And I think that's what we should rely on.
Actually,
I think that was just a general conversation. When you have a private road, who owns the road? Well, the person on one side owns the middle of the road, and the person on the other side owns the middle of the road. They meet in the middle.
But that doesn't seem to be the case.
That does not, actually not the case, no. It's kind of a weird that you have somebody own the road as a
Incorrect in the
parcel.
minutes, but because that's what was stated at the meeting, it needs
Then
to
it
stay.
then it is correct, yes. Correctly transcribed.
Correct.
Yeah.
okay, the other thing is, I wasn't in attendance.
Oh, no.
If you read the top line, and I just noticed my name's nowhere in this.
Yeah, but that's okay, because us four were.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so you're good.
Well, I think even on Pond Street, like everybody's property, they all own parts of the road.
This is, you know what that is? That's like Wallem Lake Terrace. The guy that developed that back in the 50s, he owned all the roads. And I think the same thing's happening up there.
Because I think technically Pond would be a private road, but the town takes care of everything.
Right.
Because they want to get paved, but
Well, they
people
gotta-
would have to sign off saying it's okay to have the road paved.
Well, the other thing is they gotta maintain it to get emergency vehicles down there too.
Yeah.
So, does anybody know what happened to the draft that they were working on for Lakeshore Drive?
A draft?
Yeah, it says right in here. Violation of Lakeshore Draft Stormwater Management. A request by the commission that Mr. Bennett has been working with town council all week to draft an enforcement order.
Oh, that got it.
They have the.
Yeah, but according to Mr., well, I keep on thinking Mahoney. No, Mr. Moran, he said that we did not create it, fill it out correctly. I think because he thinks we got the property owners wrong. But at the time, in August, we were setting a wide net. So we included everybody at the time. And there was some weeping and gnashing of teeth about who would be responsible and who's not responsible. And that's how it started.
These things are never punctuated, so they all seem like they run together, but if they had a couple commas here and there, it would be easier to read these. I have a question on August 7th,
Okay.
page 3. About 10 lines from the end of the page. Anyway, there's a blank there. It says Morehouse with blank renewables. So I
Is it
think-
just renewables?
I thought it was resource renewables, but I'm not 100% certain, so I didn't.
Well, should we change it? I mean, should we add it?
I think it would be better just to leave it.
Huh?
Whatever you want to do.
I'll look at my notes, but I know I don't have it.
Well, I'm going to flag it anyway.
I think if we just have renewables there, I think it's probably clear enough. Number 5. He was at the meeting tonight.
Who was?
Greg Morehouse.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's Resource Renewables.
No,
That sound familiar to you?
No, he's with Mill Creek Renewables is the name of his company. Mill Creek.
Mill Creek.
One word or two? Two.
So, yeah, that's the
we
correct.
can amend
Mill
it,
Creek.
yeah.
Yep, so we can change that. Yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah, Mill Creek. So you can add, you can just fill in the blank there.
Yep. Perfect. Still reading?
It will be a test. Talking to Sam.
15 minutes.
Tops.
No, to go.
Tops.
Pardon? Talking about how much longer it's going to take to get out of here. We got 15 minutes. We can do this in 15 minutes.
I told him an hour and 15 minutes.
Hour? I said 15 minutes.
All set?
Found one correction. Page 3 talks about Mr. Kroll. Spelling mistake.
Which,
KNOLL property.
Oh, the Knoll property, it said the Kroll property?
Yeah.
Where on page 3?
It's about 3 or 4 lines up from the Mill Creek Renewables.
same one?
Oh, yeah, KNOL, I see.
This is August 7th?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I even read it too. Like,
That one's easy to go past, because Knoll is an actual word, you know, so.
well, yeah.
Yeah, Kroll, so, okay, so those will be 2 corrections, yeah.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from Monday, August 7th, 2023, with the corrections on page 3, that it be the Kroll property and that Greg Morehouse works with Mill Creek Renewables.
There you go.
Second that.
We have a motion and seconded that the August 21st minutes,
August 7th.
August 7th minutes be accepted.
Mark Mongemai.
Who?
Eric,
With,
with the corrections?
yeah.
Eric Harrison.
Your turn, Mark.
Go aye.
Jim Bourne, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Guy's mumbling over there.
All right, now, please tell me that you can do the 21st. Okay, we got Jim,
We just got the 21st.
Mike, Mark, Katie Grace. Oh, and you weren't here.
No.
So we can't do that. We got to wait till Katie Grace shows up.
Yep.
I'll read it ahead of time.
Yeah.
Please do. Please, everybody read it ahead of time. Take it out of the binder, bring it home with you if you need to.
Right.
Well, we got one of them done, so that's great.
Okay, we need a motion to close?
Yeah. That it? Was that the last
What
one?
about the town, the
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, we got to do the annual report.
annual report? Thank you. That's what I was trying to say. Not very well.
The what?
The annual report, it's under 3. And this is the one we're looking at with the land at the town conservation has, no?
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Any way for the Keevan property to be added? to the annual
It's in
report
here.
map?
There's number
It's
8.
in here, number 8.
It mentions it, but it's not shown on the map. Now, the map, is the map part
Map's
of
gotta be
the annual
updated.
report?
I had no idea.
On both fronts?
We could approve it with updating the map. Because it is mentioned.
So what, is it the annual, so are you doing your annual report based on the calendar year or the fiscal year? Because it sounds like if this is coming up now, it's based on the calendar year.
It's calendar year.
Okay.
Well, calendar
Yeah,
year.
I'm confused because there's a whole bunch of reports out in the hall, and they're all like 6 inches thick.
Right, but this report
That's what this is for.
Yeah, this report is
This
just
year's.
for.
Because this says
the
for
Conservation
23.
It's 2023. It's annual reports every year. It's a yearly thing. That's why it's called an annual report, Mark, you dummy.
Yeah, usually in the annual report, though, there's an accounting of each member and how many meetings they attended, how many they were absent, how many they might have even, at this point, attended online versus in person.
Not in Douglas.
Not in Douglas, I guess not.
We have
Just-
unique.
These are our members.
Yep, but you did 25 notices of intent, 7 requests for determination of applicability, 19 requests for certificate of compliance, 8 extensions, 3 ANRADs, and 4 violations. That sound right?
Sounds good to me.
Sure.
Okay,
I have not been counting, but
that's impressive, that's a good amount.
yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Can we get a motion to accept?
I move that we accept the annual report with the addition of the Keven property onto the map.
Second that.
We have a motion and seconded that we accept the annual report with the updating the map to show the Keegan property. All those in favor?
Mark Mungem, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Jim Farr, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye. Now close.
Yep.
Entertain a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Mark Mungem, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Jim Farr, aye.
Now let's stick around. No. Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.